Hey guys, this is Jon, and welcome to another episode of the Meatgistics Podcast. We've got a little bit of a different one for you today. I'm going to talk by myself for a while, tell you about some things that are going on here, talk about meat news a little bit, and then I've got two gentlemen who will be popping in here, and we're going to talk about some historical construction equipment, awesome, huge machines. I love that stuff. It's the stuff that built America, so he was in town. I wanted to talk to him, so you'll get to listen to a little bit of that conversation. But first things first, obviously there's no Austin today. He's busy coding away. We've keep him in his office, lock the door, and just make him keep working. So that's why you haven't seen much of him on either podcasts, live streams, or on Meatgistics. But he's still around, he's still good and kicking, just really, really busy. All right, so first thing I want to talk about is... This is a hilarious story that probably isn't that funny, but Hong Kong triads suspected of using speedboats to smuggle frozen meat. So article says gangs controlled by Hong Kong triads are believed to be behind a massive smuggling operation, delivering more than 1,000 tons of frozen meat a day to mainland China. Using dozens of high-powered speedboats, they cross into Hong Kong waters, pick up the contraband, and race to delivery points just minutes away from the mainland. Many make several trips a night. So those of you, if any of you are in Miami or if you've been down there, you know that there is a very lively speedboat lifestyle down there. A probably surprising amount of those are used for this exact thing, smuggling in. In this area, it would be drugs. In China, it's frozen meat. Absolutely fascinated by that. That's that hard to get by there, that they smuggle in frozen meat. But, I mean, people are going to do what they have to do. In the first 6 months of this year, Hong Kong authorities seized 138 tons of smuggled meat worth $21 million, 21 million Hong Kong dollars, which is $2.1 million. They confiscated 3,000 tons worth $149 million over the course of an entire year. So obviously a huge problem. We've talked at way too much about how the African swine fever, I think that's twice in a row I've gotten it right, is really hitting the China pork producers. So maybe this is a slight response to that, but I thought it was absolutely fascinating. Another kind of interesting one is from the meeting place. They're talking that a 325,000 square foot plant is going to be created in Virginia. The plant is going to cost $300 million to make. So that's $300 million. So it's Tyson Foods. And in the past year, in 2020, Tyson paid Virginia poultry growers more than $37 million. The estimated state impact is going to be $154 million. And 400 jobs will start and be available in 2023. The $37 million thing, that's one state, and that's what Tyson is paying for just poultry. I mean, if you don't get a really good sense of how big of a business this all is, I don't know what we can do to point that out more. Another one for the meeting place is, just as we talked about last week, we're talking about the 4 companies that control 80% of the U.S. meat market. JBS is one of them, though I kept calling them JBL. I did think I corrected myself in that podcast. Brazil's JBS said net profit surged 29.7% in the second quarter to a record high $4.4 billion in Brazil. So $843 million in US dollars. What we talked about last week was a price fixing lawsuit that's going on in New York right now that I believe they are a part of. I should say I believe they are a part of. And it is JBS USA, so maybe a separate thing. But what a surprise that they're getting in trouble for price fixing as, cattle ranchers aren't making any more money. In fact, they're struggling. And the cost at my local grocery store and butcher shop are going up. Find that not surprising at all that their profits are surging like that. And then for the last actual story, this is from a website called Veg News, VEG News. The CEO of Beyond Meat. Now, we've tried Beyond Meat before. It was not bad. Flat out, it was tasty. Austin tried to surprise me with it, or like trick me with it, when we used to do the guess what you're eating segment. But I knew it wasn't beef for sure. And that product was marketed as a beef replacement. But he says vegan meat is going to replace regular meat the same way that cell phones replaced landlines. No, it absolutely will not. I mean, that's it. That's full stop. That's my sentence there. There's not a chance that vegan meat is going to replace regular meat. And do you want to know why? Because it doesn't taste as good. It just doesn't taste as good. Also, it's usually chock full of soy something or other. And we probably need to stop paying so much attention to how much fat we eat and pay a lot more attention to how much soy and sugar we eat. I am of the opinion that fat is not bad for you. Soy, on the other hand, is not something that we should be cramming our bodies full of. Reason for that is there are phytoestrogens that, depending on the studies that you read, there are just as many studies saying that it's totally harmless for your hormone system as there are ones that say that it's terrible. Nobody knows who to believe anymore. It's really, really difficult. And if you do find a good study, you have to know how to read those things. We have an employee here, Dylan, who's very good at that because he went to school for animal science. He can understand those. But trying to read that, it's like stereo instructions. It's so bland and, herefor known as party A. And it just can't get through them all the ways. Anyways, the long and short of that one is no, vegan meat is not going to replace regular meat. All right. A couple other things I want to talk about. We've created a new section of the website. It is events. So it'll be waltonsinc.com /more/events. As you could probably figure out from that, you can get to it on the main homepage by clicking on the more section at the top header. And then events is one of those. This is going to list any physical, which aren't that many, but more importantly, all upcoming virtual events, podcasts, live streams. Now that we're going to start doing the live processing streams, I don't have a good name for those. We'll try and throw up any of the ones that are scheduled. We'll try and get those on there as far ahead as we possibly can. So people can go to that website and see when or what they can tune into waltonsinc.com/live to see us do. This is going to be released too late for this to make any difference, but Austin and I are doing one on the 31st, or did one on the 31st, where we're going to give away an unclaimed prize. Also, the Waltons hoodies are in stock. They, just like the long sleeve t-shirt, they have a nice W on the breast. They've got waltons.com printed down one of the sleeves. And we took the square Meatgistics logo, blew it up, and put it at like a 25-degree angle on the back to kind of give it a little pizzazz or something. I don't know. It looks great though, and they are super comfortable. Also, for those of you who saw Austin's toddler hats he got, it's a black front with a white side and the Waltons logo just embroidered on it. I found those in adult hats, and we've got those. I think they're on their way to us right now. So those should be here by the time this is released. And finally, and this is the big news, I have here the Waltons electric stuffer motor. Now, this has been something that we've been working with the company on for, a year, probably more. It was probably around the beginning of COVID. Well, technically, we've been working on it a lot longer than that, but it was probably around the beginning of all the COVID stuff when we started working with this company. We had them make tons of changes to the motor, just constantly looking for a way to give you guys an electric stuffer that can consistently perform on snack sticks. So we've got what I hope is that motor right here in my hands. The other thing that we did that hopefully is going to be just as big is we had them make a lot of changes to the design for the canister and the stand a little bit, but mostly the canister of the stuffer. They sent us many. They sent us 3 or 4 examples. So they'd send one, we'd say, didn't work that well, try changing this. And to their credit, they absolutely did it. They were open to it. It wasn't cheap for us to do it, but they absolutely did it. These were shipped together. I have this. I do not have the stuffer itself yet. When I try and track it on FedEx, it says waiting for an update. I looked earlier today and it said it was in Memphis, and now it doesn't know where it is. So I'm more than a little bit concerned about that, but we'll see. But what we had them do on the canister is we had them shrink down the diameter of it, because as we've talked about many times, the diameter of your piston is going to play a very large role in determining how much force you need to get that piston to move down and push the meat out through your stuffing tube. Obviously, quality of the meat, the amount of fat, the amount of water, all of that comes into play as well. But the size of the piston is a major factor. So we had them shrink that down. We had them make some adjustments to where the hole was positioned, the size of the hole, and the shape of the hole at the bottom of the sausage stuffer. So when you're pressing it down, there's a little drop out on the bottom of the canister, and that feeds into the stuffing tube. We had them make adjustments to that until we had it hopefully exactly how we want it. I've seen videos of it running and I was impressed. So early next week, don't be surprised if you don't hear from me on Meatgistics or anything for a couple of days, because I'm going to be absolutely testing this thing to the nth degree. We will do every type of sausage you can imagine, all the diameters that we can make happen, and hoping that it works. If it works, we will have electric sausage stuffers hopefully in stock fairly soon. Electric sausage stuffers are one of the things that you guys have asked for more than anything else. We used to carry one. We just didn't like the fact that we didn't think they did snack sticks well initially. So then we started saying they don't do snack sticks. But inevitably, that's what a lot of people are making now. So people would use them for snack sticks. So we just pulled it off the market, made it unavailable while we worked on this. We are finally, hopefully, at that last stage where we're just going to have to wait for them to get here. Once they get here, they'll be live. Don't know pricing yet, but we will obviously cross that bridge when we come to it. But yeah, so that is the big news. That was a very exciting shipment to get. Hopefully I get the canister soon, though. All right, so we're going to go on over to our conversation with Jonesy and Scott from the HCEA. Hey guys, this is Jon, and welcome to another episode of the Meatgistics Podcast. As you can see, we have a very special episode. We have 2 guests and no Austin. So get ready for an awesome Austin-less podcast. Before we get to all this, I want to jump right into this sausage because this is our Supreme Pizza Bratwurst that we went ahead and made cured. And what makes this special is we ground up actual pepperoni, like the hard log pepperoni, put it in there, stuffed it with it. So let's all grab some, quickly eat it, and then tell me what a genius I am. That's my favorite sausage I make.
It definitely tastes like pizza.
Yep. I could taste the pepperoni when my teeth were going through it.
It is. So that is 10% pepperoni, and Supreme Pizza is designed to be a bratwurst, but we wanted to make that as a cured sausage. Now, the difference between a cured sausage seasoning and a bratwurst seasoning is the cured sausage is going to have salt as a functional ingredient. So it's going to have a higher salt content because we're relying on the salt to help solubilize those proteins, make them easy to get sticky. With this, we just used it at full strength because 10% of that weight was already processed pepperoni with a high salt content. So we don't even have to make any changes to it. We got 25 pounds of product out of a 25-pound bag. And man, I just love that.
It's pretty good stuff.
Absolutely love that sausage. Probably my favorite thing we make. We are going to do it again for Zubilee, but this time we're going to melt all 4 cheeses into it because it makes it just that much better.
Yeah.
Absolutely excellent. Okay, so let's talk about the guests. I've got Meatgistics user Jonesy here, and I've got his friend Scott. So Jonesy and I started talking. He said he was on his way out to Wichita and wanted to stop by for a tour. We love giving tours of the place from Meatgistics. I am not part of the Waltons family, sadly, but I'm super proud of this building, this organization, like everything we do. So I love giving tours, love showing it off, because I think for a small-ish company, we really do some awesome things, especially in the shipping department. Getting those orders out as quickly as we do, as accurately as we do, I find absolutely amazing. So I wanted to give him a tour of that. And then he mentioned something that piqued my interest. It does not involve meat processing, but I'm super interested in it. So why don't you talk?
A guy thing.
It is a guy thing. It is a very it's just a very masculine thing. Why don't you talk about your organization?
Well, it's the HCEA, the Historic Construction Equipment Association. And in fact, the reason we're here this week, or one of the reasons that we stopped in here at Waltons this weekend, is because we're having our annual show north of here in Concordia this weekend. And so it's a 3-day show. And we thought, well, it'll take a couple of days to get out that far. We're from Perrysburg, Ohio, Toledo, Ohio area. We're going to be out there. I might as well stop at Waltons. I know they're in Wichita, so, I'm not going to get another opportunity to do that probably for another 20 years. So I might as well hit it while I can hit it. So here we are, and we're heading out to the show tomorrow. We thought we'd spend the whole day here today and tour the place, which is awesome, especially the warehouse and the shipping areas. And then we're going to head over to the show tomorrow. And that's pretty much the plan.
Okay.
So.
Another thing is, I knew you were coming down here. One of the interesting construction things that we have in Kansas is this ridiculous machine called Brutus. Brutus, at one point, was the largest machine, I think in America, not the world, but I think in America. He showed me a picture. They went and visited it on the way here. He showed me a picture of him standing in the shovel of it, and it's, did it say how many gallons, or did it give some sort of cubic?
90 cubic yards of material in one scoop. Yeah, it was.
Bulldozer will fit in the bucket, and also a pickup truck will fit in the bucket.
Yeah.
That gives you
both of those pieces in.
Some idea of the scale of this piece of equipment. The one, so obviously seeing you in the bucket was impressive, but the picture, and hopefully you can send them to me and we can try to put these on there.
Sure.
The picture of you in the driveway or the walkway up to it and in the background really does show how insanely huge that thing is.
It's over 15 stories high. When it was built, it was the second largest shovel in the world.
In the world.
And it's right down the road from you guys here. So, people never see the things that are right under their noses. That's kind of how it works. So
I would never even have known about that, but a neighbor told me about it because I told him what my dog's name was. And he's like, oh, just like that. Like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Went home and looked it up, and it's just absolutely amazed. Now, you got a chance to go inside it as well. They'd removed all the motors, you were saying. But
the whole thing is electric.
Right.
And so there are a bunch of motors, electric motors that drive all the different components and things that happen in there. And they were just sitting on top of gearboxes and all that stuff. Well, they removed all the motors probably to sell them off or whatever the case is. But yeah, there's ladders and stuff. You can get up in the thing and see how everything operates and what goes on. I mean, it doesn't move now, but yeah, it's amazing to go up there and just the enormity of the whole thing. It's huge. And you just got to wonder how people could design something and build something that big and all.
Do you know what year it was built in?
63. They put it together. It's a Bucyrus, and most of the Bucyrus equipment was built in Bucyrus, Ohio.
Okay.
Down below us by about 2 hours. And they transported most of the pieces there. Some of the pieces were welded together on site because they were too big for the train cars that brought the crane. And they put it up on timbers, crisscrossed, and it must have been stacked 50 feet high.
God.
And they put the main base up on timbers and then started assembling top and bottom pieces from there.
That's absolutely insane. All right, so tell me a little bit more about the HCEA. Like, what does it do? Why did you guys form, or why is it formed? Talk about a little bit of the chapters too.
Go ahead.
I would have to say the operating engineers in our area were a faithful group to their equipment. And as modernization came on and equipment changed, all this other equipment was just being put in boneyards or scrapped, disassembled, whatever. And they wanted to see that survive so people could see how things were done in the past, just like any museum does. And we've amassed a lot of equipment there. You can see all different kinds of things. We've got a list here of them. And so we have steam shovels. We have a steam, it's an Osgood steam shovel. It's ran by steam. We have about, I'd say 20 cranes in all. Some of them are back in the 20s.
Okay. So how is that powered? A crane back in the 20s? Like I see now it's all hydraulic and electric, I would imagine.
Correct.
Okay.
Most of these are cable driven with winches and braking systems, powered by either gas, or we have one crane that is totally electric. It's dependent on being plugged into a generator. So we have a massive generator that we pull along behind that.
Yeah, I was going to ask, that's got to be a big generator.
Yep.
God. So what interests me about these pieces of equipment are that these are the things that built America.
Correct.
And I love the fact that somebody's going back through and trying to save some of that history. Because so often I feel like we get into a situation where it's just on to the next thing. Like you probably can't build a skyscraper with most of this equipment anymore, but maintaining it, showing some appreciation for it, and for the people who ran it, cared for it. My wife is an engineer. There's a certain connection that an engineer gets with whatever equipment that they're working on, maintaining. You're relying on it to do the purpose you want. So I love the fact that you guys are going back through and making sure that these are appreciated. All right, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're right. And we've got volunteers there. The home base for the HCEA is in Bowling Green, Ohio.
Okay.
But we have a show every year somewhere. And once every 3 years, it's at Bowling Green, and then it rotates at different places around the country. It could be out east, could be in Concordia, Kansas, could be wherever. And so as we rotate these shows around, we got all this. The people up here have equipment that they can bring in and show off. We passed coming in a couple days ago. Trucks that had equipment coming in that we know is going to that show.
Yeah.
People come from all over the country, bringing their personally owned stuff into the show, and And it's just a bunch of people showing off all the old stuff they have. And it's not just a static show. It's not just walking around and looking at bulldozers. They're actually out working this stuff.
They're moving it, showing it off.
They're pushing dirt around and they're digging holes and there are no fences. There are no fences, so it's not. I mean, when the stuff shut off, you can go up and look in the door and see what's going on in there, and you can actually watch the thing work and walk around and admire the stuff as it does what it did 80 years ago or whatever.
So I imagine that would be like the perfect thing to bring a little kid to. I mean, I've never met a little boy who doesn't love a digger.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And then it feels like, at least for me, somewhere you kind of lose appreciation or interest in it, probably around the time you get interested in girls. But then later in life, it comes back. Right. And you're like, oh, no, that is really cool. Why did I ever fall off on that?
It's just bigger boys' toys.
And some of those toys, I imagine, are very big. So like some sort of 18-wheeler truck, something like that is how they would be moved for the most part?
Yeah, yes. Okay. All the equipment, yeah.
What are some of the costs that are associated with upkeep of these?
Well, luckily, we've got several businesses, at least locally, and in fact, not necessarily locally, that help us with that. They donate a lot of stuff. We have a company called Leiden Oil. They supply us with all the oil, all the grease, all the lubricants we need to change the oils and keep everything working that way. Okay. We got a company that supplies us all our nuts and bolts. So we've got this crib full of nuts, drawers and drawers of nuts and bolts if we need stuff to fix stuff.
For
That's
maintenance.
Kind of nice.
Okay.
There are probably 15 volunteers there locally in Bowling Green that come out every week. We kind of have fun on Wednesday nights out there working on stuff and fixing stuff and changing oil and doing this and doing that and fixing what broke last and putting out fires kind of like you guys do here sometimes and, whatever it takes to get it done.
And we are totally dependent on people who donate funds for the museum. And we're also trying to build a new museum, and that's going to be built in sections and added onto until we can get all of our equipment inside. And so that's our biggest goal right now.
And that's in Ohio?
Yes.
That's in Bowling Green,
okay.
Ohio.
Go ahead. I want to hear what else you have in there. I'm sorry, I just jumped in, but...
So I talked about cranes. Yep. We have horse-drawn equipment also. So we have some real old stuff. Mining stuff. We have drills, shovels, compressors. We have a good assortment of dump trucks that still operate. And we do use those during shows. The cranes will dig out dirt, whatever they're digging, put it in a dump truck, go dump it somewhere else, and then the process starts all over again.
Okay.
We've dug ponds during our shows. We've put in roads. Right. So like even driving down 135 out here, you go through and you can see where they've cut a hole between the hills to put the road in there. We got all the equipment that did that cutting and did all the hauling of all that stuff. However long ago it was that road was put in, the original deal. It's cool. It's nice stuff.
It really is. And it's an incredibly important piece of American history that for whatever reason, we always kind of blow over or go over. There's The Men Who Built America is that one show or series that was absolutely fascinating. But my question is, and I didn't bring this up to you before, but I am interested in your opinions on it. What do you think the most important piece of equipment for building the America we now know is? Is it a crane? Is it a digger? Is it those old steam shovels? I mean, the only one I'll say we can't use is railroads because that's a little bit different.
Yeah, we don't do railroads.
Okay. So
I would say, Rich and I have been talking about this. I would say it's the men and women who in the early 1900s mechanized us for about 30 or 40 years. Everything was mechanical. And
all the renovations that came about like between 1850 and 1950 were pretty much all mechanical things. Okay. And all the stuff that they invented and figured out how to do and like building that big Brutus, we're like in there thinking, how in the heck did they figure out how to build all this stuff? And in the last 25 or 30 years, everything, most of the innovations have been electrical or electronic. Not so much any new mechanical ideas have come out. You know what I mean? Not a lot of mechanical ideas. yeah, there was an era there when the mechanical ideas were just coming out of the woodwork, man. And people were inventing stuff and doing stuff and dreaming up stuff.
Yep.
Well,
we've changed to a software-based innovation system. I still want to know where my flying car is.
Well, yeah.
Well, I was assured I'd have a flying car by
when you were
now.
about 7.
And a Rosie cleaning your house.
Yes.
Rosie.
Like, where's the robot going around doing all of my unwanted work for me?
Right.
They don't exist. It's
No, that would.
well, Patrick is off screen telling us of a Tesla robot that just came out.
Yeah, well, they just announced it a week ago.
Okay, so I don't.
You
keep
need
up
to
on
Do
it.
dangerous tasks.
Is that what it's for? Okay, I can see that. I mean, I'm all for keeping people safer, but
So I wouldn't say that any one piece of equipment was the answer, because everywhere you go in the country, there was a different need for a different piece of equipment. Like when they built the Hoover Dam, your strip mining for your Brutus, the show that we're going to, there's all different kinds of machinery that you don't see in our particular area, but you do see out here in the West.
okay. So the American mind would
Yes.
basically be your answer, okay?
Ingenuity.
Jonesy,
Yeah, I'm with that.
with that,
Yeah.
have you there's a salt mine up about an hour and a half north of here. It's closed down, but you can go tour it now. And we went a year ago, something like that. And being down in there, just on a tour, gave you such an appreciation for the people who went down and actually did that on a daily basis as a job. Growing up in New York, I knew the son of a coal miner. His father was a coal miner. Just that takes a type of bravery I don't think I have, to go down in those mines day in, day out, all the risks. But I mean, life changes, our economy changes, but I really do like the fact that somebody is trying to keep alive the equipment and the appreciation for the type of persistence, the toughness, everything it took to do all of this stuff. I really don't think we could replicate it today. I really don't.
Be tough to find people that would be willing to do
The
what
manual
those
labor
people,
part.
Yep.
Yeah, what those people were willing to do.
Yeah, it's just it's a different time. We've all gotten a little too comfortable. So yeah, I don't think we could do it. All right, talk to me about the magazine Equipment Echoes.
Oh, Equipment Echoes is just a brochure or magazine that the HCEA puts out quarterly.
Okay.
And it's awesome. It's all color. It's a very high quality magazine. All the members get it. Anybody who's a member. But by the way, it only costs $35 to be a member for the year.
Okay.
And that includes 4 quarterly magazines. Tells you everything that's going on in Bowling Green here lately. It talks about where equipment's being sent, shipped, whatever. Talks about shows that are coming up. There's also we share our property with a organization called what's the
Power of Yesteryear.
Power of Yesteryear. It's guys with farm tractors mostly is what they do. So a lot of those guys are in both clubs. You know, they're Power of Yesteryear guys and they're HCEA guys. So a lot of them, and they'll get their stuff out and play around with it. And they usually, when we have our show, they have their stuff out there too, and they're all playing around and
They participate right with us.
yeah.
Cool.
So it's all fun stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about old school tough, you got to bring up
Yeah,
farming.
and of course in the magazine they list all the people that are new members. For instance, this covered 3 months of membership, and they had like 150 new members in that 3-month period, and out of several countries, mostly United States, but there's 3 or 4 countries. Some of them are ladies. That happens. So it's not just a guy's thing, but it's mostly a guy's thing. Women are always welcome to participate.
Similar to Meatgistics.
And not like that, but some of them own gravel companies. And, we got a lot of our members. There are a lot of companies that are members, and a lot of them are gravel companies and equipment companies and whatever, nuts and bolts companies and oil companies and whatever. So women own those things. So they get involved and they look at this stuff. And
it's like we were saying with Meatgistics. Women are more than welcome. Yeah. It just tends to be this is more of a guy thing.
More of a guy thing.
Yep.
You're going to find a lot of history in this magazine too. We've got a gigantic archives of all these equipment manufacturers. After they were done building the equipment of that day, they had archives, and they no longer want the archives. So we've gathered all this stuff and we keep it. And so you'll see a lot of older equipment in here on the job, doing its work, all fresh, brand new.
Yeah, and we've even got owner's manuals and operators manuals and stuff for whenever somebody closes something down, they send us all of their old manuals, and we archive them. And we have the world's largest archive of equipment manuals for construction equipment.
That's awesome.
All the just pictures to go with it too.
Cool stuff to go through.
One full-time guy who works there who's in charge of all that stuff, of all the papers.
One guy manages the largest collection of users manuals in the world.
Well, and there's a lady who works there too that takes care of all the memberships and she takes care of a lot of stuff. They have their separate things that they do, but there's two full-time people who work there, and that's it.
All right. So if somebody wanted to become a member, is there a website? How would they go?
Just dial in hcea.net, is it?
Yep. Or it's .net.
.org.
Oh, .net gets you there too. Because I tried to get on it through our system and it blocked it for some reason. But so I went on my phone. All right. Well, you've definitely got one new member. I 100% will sign up for this for yearly membership.
Now, if the company let me tell you this. If Waltons gets in, then it's like you get, I don't know what it is, 3 or 4 magazines, and then it's like a group of, and it's a group thing. So,
I don't know. I'll talk to the Waltons about it, but we'll have to see about that. All right. Another thing I wanted to talk about is before we came in here, we walked through the showroom. Now, Jonesy's a Meatgistics member. Scott, are you?
No, I am not.
You're not? Okay.
Not yet.
So Jonesy is waiting for this month's giveaway to conclude to see if he's going to win. The options are a 32 Waltons meat grinder, a 11-pound sausage stuffer, and a 50-pound meat mixer, or a $500 gift card. So first question would be, what would you choose?
I would choose the mixer and the stuffer.
Okay. So that will give you the option to do the most things you feel like?
Well, because I've never done sausage and sticks and all that stuff, and I want to learn how to do that stuff, and that's kind of my goal, is to get into that next.
But clearly, you've got a bunch of jerky seasonings in there, so you're clearly good on jerky.
I do jerky. I'm pretty decent at that.
What's your jerky process?
Well, I got this great big block smokehouse that I've talked about on Meatgistics. Yep. And it's really high tech. What you do is, if it's running too hot, you close down the vents a little bit on the bottom, and you hope that the temperature starts going down. Right. And if it gets too cold and then nothing's going on, you open the vents and you throw a couple more pieces of wood in there. That's how it works. It's really high tech. I can control it within about 100 degrees. High top to bottom. Okay. And the jerky comes out perfect every time.
Well, there you go.
Here's the thing. I've seen smoker cleaner, and you guys sell smoker cleaner stuff. The inside of my block smoker is just pure black carpet.
The entire way around.
And it smells awesome in there, and it ain't never getting clean.
The one thing, so we had some snack sticks in our PK100 going. They weren't ready by the time we started. I was hoping they would be. But what I like maybe in the top 3 things about that PK100 is you don't have to clean the inside walls. Yeah. I absolutely love that.
Plus you pushed buttons on it to make it do different things. That was pretty impressive.
So mine's a lot easier for sure. Yeah. It is electronic. It's got controls all of it just with flips a switch and pushes a button. Much easier than opening up the grate and throwing in wood chunks and stuff. I kind of envy
you guys that have that stuff.
Yeah, it is pretty great. But let's talk about what else you got here. This, I'm sure you started hearing about it through Meatgistics and our social media, the chicken on the run.
I did. The guys are talking about that. They're showing fried chicken on Meatgistics, and I like chicken. There's really not too much food I don't like. That's pretty obvious. But yeah, I mean, I've done the chicken on the run tenderizer stuff, but I wanted to try the breading and see how.
Oh, you haven't tried the breading yet?
I've not tried the breading, so this is like a new thing.
Oh, this is So
why I'm doing all this is because I'm here and I don't have to pay freight on anything, and I might as well stock up on all the stuff that I need, and so I'm getting the stuff I need.
That's the right way to look at it. But quick story on the chicken on the run. We had a bag of this, and it survived 2 moves of our room, and I finally just threw it out. Like, I didn't know what it was. I knew we carried it, but only sold it to commercial customers. 2 days after I finally threw it out, Brett came in with an open case. He put a bag of this down and says, we have to do something with this. I'm going to start selling it individually. So I'm like, all right, well, that's a sign. So did some air fried chicken thighs. Now, when I make some stuff here, like a lot of it is kind of either experimental or like we're looking for a real specific flavor. So some people love it, some people don't. I've never brought anything around that has been universally loved except for that chicken on the run stuff. Every single person was like, make more. It was amazing. So you're going to love that. Absolutely awesome. All right. Your favorite, or my favorite thing that you got out of here is this, the Smith's Diamond Sharpening Stone. So have you used stones in the past? I imagine.
I'm a Boy Scout kind of thing from way back. So I've just used stones from, old flat stones, but never anything decent. And I never had any decent knives anyway. So now I've got some nice knives. Okay. I'm good to go, but I need to keep them sharp. And I can tell already just from doing the jerky and some of the stuff, turkeys and stuff that I've done, that I need to start learning how to keep my knife sharpened up. So
for me, I've always been a huge proponent of the True Hone. I got this out of stock one day. I don't even remember why I was trying it, but instantly, just like right away, as soon as I made that first motion, I was like, oh, that's soothing. It is very much a Zen thing.
Yeah, I've watched some of your podcasts on that stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I kind of get that. Yeah,
and it gets your knives razor sharp. Absolutely great. So then we've got some vacuum bag rolls. We've got, I would say, these gloves get used probably more than anything else that's not like a grinder, stuffer, mixer. I use these things all the time. They're lifesavers.
I'm interested to see how they work.
They work great.
I bought some gloves at one of the stores there up around our house, and they work okay, but they're cloth on the outside. And so if you happen to be messing with chicken or something with barbecue sauce, it ruins the outside of the glove. I mean, how do you clean them? How do you get that out of there? And I've been doing cast iron stuff lately. And so I'm baking these cast iron things in 500-degree oven, and I'm reaching in there with my gloves, and they're okay if you're fast. But I got to use a pot holder with the gloves that I have now, and I want to see how these compare.
Now, the one thing I will say on this with really hot cast iron is they are heat resistant. They are not heat proof.
Same as mine.
So if you leave it on it for too long, you'll start to feel it.
But I'll stay with the pot holder.
It's a huge difference. Try it without one first. Burn your hands real bad. And then no. All right. Then we've got some seasonings. You've never had this before. It's the Gigawatt hot jerky seasoning. You like things hot?
I like hot stuff.
Okay. We've got some jerky over here. That is the Gigawatt that we made in our tender series. You were asking how much sugar it's on there. That is 18% of the product's weight in brown sugar. So if you're making 100 pounds, you use 18 pounds of sugar.
That's cool.
The first time you do it,
things 20 pounds at a time, but still, that's a lot of sugar.
It's disgusting. The first time I mixed it up, really I was like, oh no, I'm like, this is terrible. And then I tried it. I'm like, oh, it's
amazing. Got a really good sweet taste, and then you get a little bite.
And I mean, I've left this stuff out for months uncovered. It's going to lose its flexibility. It's tender, but it's never going to grow anything.
It's jerky.
Yep. It'll always be safe. We've got the Colorado beef jerky. You've made that before?
I've not.
Oh,
just want to check it out.
You're great.
I'm here. I'm not paying freight.
There you go. It's
might as well try some stuff.
Really good classic jerky taste. You got the spicy version, so it's got just a little bit of spice to it. We've got the sweet Chipotle jerky. Again, another new one.
Yeah, another new one.
Really good. Depending on how dry you get your sauce your jerky, it can have an interesting spice to it. It's not going to overpower anybody, but it can get a little intense depending on how much you dehydrate. And you do it entire way through your smoker, right? Never
I
goes
do.
in a dehydrator?
I don't do a dehydrator.
Okay. We've got the jalapeno jerky, which is obviously great. The Excalibur barbecue jerky. If we had any of the Waltons Bold, I would have made you switch that out for this, or switch this out for that.
I have Waltons Bold.
Oh, you do have Bold.
I still have some left.
Okay, so that's fairly similar. And then the last one we've got here is the Dill Pickled flavored jerky or snack stick seasoning. I know you don't have that one. When that first came out, it was all I made. We almost got sick of it because as soon as we were done, I'd make more and then make more. It's the only jerky I've made that I think I actually prefer as a restructured product for whatever reason. Don't know why. But since it is designed to be a snack stick or a jerky seasoning, it lends itself a little bit better to restructured, I feel like. So
I'm not up to the restructured stuff. As long as I can buy nice whole meat stuff, I'll just keep doing that for now.
Yep. Restructured only for if you don't have good cuts that you can.
Right.
Yep. Then we've got obviously the Waltons hat. Now you are team orange, but I appreciate you not rubbing that in my face and getting the orange hat.
Yeah. You gotta start somewhere. It's got an orange W on it, so that's a good start.
And the last one, that was the sweet Chipotle jerky. We already talked about that. Okay. Anything else you want to say about HCEA?
I think we covered probably most of the stuff.
Okay. When we post this, we will put hcea.net down in the descriptions. I will go ahead and sign up for that. I'm going to get my magazine.
Great. Appreciate it.
Okay. Awesome. With my wife being an engineer, I'm sure.
Oh, she'll love it.
She'll probably read it cover to cover.
What kind of engineer?
She's chemical.
Okay.
But really does way more process.
Yeah. Okay.
I went to school for chemical, but as long as I've known her, it's been pretty much process.
I studied mechanical, so that
did you?
Yeah, so that lends itself well to to what I did and what I do. So
what did you do?
Well, lately, the last 20 years, I've been a home or building inspector.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But before that, I worked in a manufacturing plant, and I was the plant engineer there. So I was kind of in charge of everything, but electrical was not my specialty. Chemical wasn't either. But yeah, all the rebuilds and all the overhauls and all that kind of stuff. That was my responsibility. All the new purchases and all that stuff of equipment, at least. So yeah,
cool. Scott, anything else you want to say?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna record the news section now, but we'll cut you guys loose. Let you get on your way.
Very good.
Right.
Awesome.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
Yep,
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for checking out the Meatgistics Podcast. To shop everything but the meat, head on over to waltonsinc.com. And to get your meat processing questions answered by experts and enthusiasts alike, head on over to our online community at meatgistics.com. Waltons, everything but the meat.